Hey, everybody, welcome back to Gardens, the Untold Story. I'm your host, Ken Somerville, my co-host, Andy Lopez, the Invisible Gardener. And we're still talking on Andy's book. We got a few more chapters to go. But right now, we're talking about natural flea and tick control. And that's something that a lot of people worry about, not so much in northern Canada where I am, but a lot of people are worried a lot about ticks and the diseases that come with that. So, Andy, how do we control ticks and fleas naturally?
You get Lyme disease, I think.
Yeah, Lyme disease. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I wrote another book on how to control mosquitoes. It's pretty much the same thing as how to control.
Wasn't that just one page?
Yeah. There was one. It's that the one on how to control mosquitoes was just one page. Actually, it was like a paragraph. But see, I started doing pest control a long time ago. And one of the things there's ants and snails, right, and gophers, but ticks and fleas and spiders are the ticks and fleas are like number 3 or number 4 that people always contact me for. If they have a pet, they're very concerned about that. They don't want to spray anything, or even themselves, because a lot of times people go camping and they don't want to come back with some carrying a camper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And nowadays, when people get bit, so what I've learned in my practice of controlling fleas and ticks is the same thing as we have been talking about with gophers, and it's the same thing we talked about with ants. There's one addition to it in that the gophers and well, maybe the ants, because you have red ants, they attack you. Usually ants are nothing that would attack your body. That's what I was thinking about with fleas and ticks. They bite you. They can bite you. So you have an additional interest in controlling them and keeping from getting bitten. But the snails don't bite you. But so anyway, we have one more thing added, and that is we're also we're also being attacked by them. So not only are they in your dog and cat, but you also have them on your body, and then you have to deal with them where they come from. So you have several things going on here that you have to attend to, depending upon to what degree you have these things happening in your life. But it goes back down to telling people that, okay, so you have the law of cause and effect. So there's two things going on: law of cause and effect. And you have to also deal with the immediate problem, because the law of cause and effect, you have the cause is something you want to deal with. That's a long term. That's something you have to deal with long term. And then the effect, the cause, and the effect is something easier to control in the short term. That would be like prevent yourself from getting fleas and bitten, or prevent your cat from getting bitten, and your dog. And those happen to be. And the same principle applies, like we talked about when we talked about refractometer, and we talked about the higher the bricks, the less the pests and the diseases. Now, I'm sure there's a refractometer that measures your blood level, the refractometer for the blood. High 24/7Y2K. Boy, that is a name. 24/7Y2K. Let me see, what is this? I got to see this. 24/7Y2ZK. No, Y2K.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you're an alien. Did anybody check his ID? Because that's an alien name right there. So ICT grows.
And Silly Lily had a question statement. Fleas and ticks hang out in tall grasses, don't they?
Yes, ma'am. And that's probably because it's easier to jump on you than to have to fly all the way up. It's better to get on your leg and then upper part of your body as soon as possible than down by your shoes. So they will definitely go up that way. The same thing with animals. That way they can get them on their back. It's true. I didn't say he was a robot. I know you're not a robot. You're an alien. Just what planet are you from? Just cite it there. It's okay. I'm an alien. I'm actually interdimensional alien police, which I mean, I'm going to have to arrest you after the show, but that's another story. Don't worry. Do we know where 2/4/7Y2K is at? No. What? Is it Montana? I bet you it's Montana. There's a lot of alien.
Well, anyway, let's get back to the ticks and fleas.
So I've learned that the in terms of your body, they will only attack you if the condition is right for them to attack you. So, and what is that condition? So it could be any number of things, but basically it comes down to you are having an issue with your body. Your body is not exactly healthy. Something's wrong, and it gives off either a frequency or a vibe or a particular smell that these creatures are attracted to. In other words, they're attracted to your blood, right?
Yeah.
You're right. They're attracted to your blood. And what's that? Miami North? Oh, yeah. I know Miami North. I'm an old Florida boy. Miami is what's on my turfs. So it's like, what was it again? Treasure Coast, right?
Yeah.
2 hours from Miami.
2 hours north from Miami.
That's cool. I lived in Homestead. I lived in all over Miami. As long knows.
Now, do they have ticks in Miami?
Yes, sir. They do.
Okay.
Ticks are pretty much everywhere. You just have to, especially in a tropical environment, you know. So yeah, Ken, always good to see you, buddy. Yeah, Ken, it's always good to see you. So I've learned from experience that the people who usually get attacked by whether it be ticks or fleas or any other similar creature, because a whole bunch of creatures very similar to that will attack you. Then no-see-em, there's mites, there's all kinds of things, right? They're going after your blood. Just like they go when they attack a tree or plant, they're going after the tree's blood, right? There's similarities to it. The tree's blood is the closest thing to hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the closest thing to our blood. Very similar. Holds oxygen, the whole 10 yards. The nutrition, everything is in there. And so
if we have chlorophyll in blood is really close.
Yeah, chlorophyll. Yeah, but the whole thing is very, very, very similar. And Mother Nature did it that way on purpose, because what she's not reinventing the wheel. She's just taking that and say, okay, we're going to apply it to you, the living beings, the birds, the other creatures. But the philosophy is still the same: is that you're missing certain trace minerals in your blood. So you give off either a frequency or a signal. That frequency, by the way, is also visual. That's why refractometer comes in with plants. So I know there's a refractometer for human blood. I just never really used it or learned, but you can tell by using a refractometer what minerals your blood has. And so it comes down to mineral deficiencies. Just like in plants, when they have a mineral deficiency, then the bugs will attack them because your Brix level will always be low. Whereas if you didn't have a mineral deficiency, your Brix level would be high. Same thing with human beings and birds and other creatures, dogs. And that's why you have to feed your dog the best food they can. The same thing with the cat. But if they're a living thing and they're having a problem, that is to say they're not functioning at the optimum health, yeah, you're going to be giving off a signal to whatever creature has evolved to say, oh, look, bingo, and they go attack you. I learned from experience, one of the things, I'm not sure if it's 100% correct or not, but see, I'm a vegetarian, so I used to go out camping a lot with friends who always ate meat and all kinds of stuff, and they would get attacked. Massive attack, like in Texas. Just mosquitoes will attack them, all kinds, and they wouldn't attack me. And they said, what's wrong with you? Well, I told them I'm an alien, my blood kills them, that whole thing.
Oh, no, you just had garlic in your shoes that drove them away. We know it.
Yeah, so no, I don't need it, because see, what I was trying to say is that if you eat meat, you give off the odor, the vapor comes off your skin. They can tell you're eating meat, and that meat that attracts them. When you're a vegetarian, you're giving off a different odor than if you were. That's why the garlic comes in, because it masks that odor. So if you regardless of what you eat, if you eat garlic, you will smell like garlic. It will come out, the odor will come out like garlic, and they can't find you. So same thing with mosquitoes. I tell people the mosquitoes, a tick or flea, if they can't find you, they can't bite you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know that I used to take a lot of B complex vitamins, and obviously it was creating a secretion on my skin because I never got attacked by mosquitoes. And I live in the bush in northern Alberta, where the mosquitoes are big enough to carry off horses and moose and elk.
Yeah, there are lots of things that you can take that your skin will give it off. Yeah, so that's really cool. You could get to learn that a lot, because a lot of times we can't really be functioning at 100% efficient. efficient level so that nothing bites us, nothing attacks us. So it's always good to learn that some things you can take. That's why I really like garlic a lot, because I've
Yeah.
learned from experience. Yeah, what I used to do, because I don't remember getting bitten, but uh, I learned that somewhere along the line, I was putting in, getting a clove of garlic, cutting in half, putting it in my each foot, in each left, half a clove in each foot, and I would smell like garlic. My skin would smell like garlic, and a mountain lion will look around and say, "I don't know, but something over there smells weird. I'm going that way." And so if they can't find you, they can't bite you. So, but the which that's just taking care of yourself. Like you do that, you can feed garlic to your pets, and the same reaction to that. But you have to. They're not. They probably won't like the garlic as much as us humans do. But you have to introduce them to it slowly over time. You have to be careful not to give them too much. But you give them enough garlic, they will smell the garlic, and they will leave it alone. There are other things that
I
you
don't know
can
if
use.
your cats and dogs are gonna want to eat garlic, but
That's what I
uh,
said. You have to. Yeah.
CT growers are saying Lyme disease is very common in deer ticks. Here in CT, I'm constantly checking myself during the summer because they are so tiny. Now I know a lot of people. They literally, if they're going out hiking, they wear the long shirts, the long pants. They wrap duct tape around their pants so there's no way for them to get in underneath to be able to access to bite you. But Andy, like does garlic work on the ticks and the fleas, and what else would you recommend for getting rid of them?
The garlic is one of the easiest tools to use, especially if you're going to be in an environment that you know there's a whole bunch of them out there. That's the easiest way. When you come back, you'll find they won't touch you at all because your body will secrete this sulfur, and it's one of the easiest to also cleans out your blood, and nothing will bite you. But there are lots of other things that you can use that you can either apply to yourself or to the area. Because one of the things I would do is I would use a soap. Now there's many kinds of natural soaps on the market, and my favorite was called Dr. Bronner's. And
Yeah, I
Dr.
remember
Bronner's,
Dr. Bronner's.
right? Dr. Bronner's make lavender, eucalyptus, almond, a couple other tea tree oil, peppermint, and these are basically herbal mixers.
Yeah.
And so you learn you can easily spray yourself or spray your whole camp area, or if you're going to go out, you spray yourself first and you come back. You can they will not attach themselves as easily to you. The Dr. Bronner's is also very good to bathe your dog in it. You have to go lightly. You have to learn how much soap to use. You too much soap is not good for you. You have to do it lightly. I also learned that there are lots of different. Like one of the things I do in my garden, I grow citronella, for example, it's a plant.
Yeah.
So there are lots of really cool plants that you could grow, and you can make a tea out of it and spray yourself with it. Take a little container, mist. So you can accept it. You can try lavender, you can try rosemary, you can try eucalyptus, you can try citronella, oregano, any of those as a tea can be sprayed all over you. Plus, you can drink it.
Yeah. Well, you could say do two things at once, man. It's
Right.
double
Right.
duty. But so like, okay, say the citronella. A lot of people grow that for the mosquitoes, like we
Yeah.
were talking about. Um, so you would take that, put it in a little squirt bottle, and like squirt your ankles and your neck in that to make it so they don't jump on you, because from my understanding, a lot of it is just rubbing up against that long grass, and they're basically coming on to your clothes, etc.
Right. Whether they
So
stay or not, that's the question.
okay,
Right. Because see, there a lot of reasons why they're up there is because you walk through them, they will just and if they smell, because their smell is 1,000 times stronger than us, if they smell the lavender, the eucalyptus, the
yeah,
peppermint, or any of those things, they will jump right off rather than say, "Oh, this is cool," and dig right in. And but
yeah,
and it's real easy to make. It's like you bubble, boil. You boil some water. You throw your herbs in there. Like today, I did 8 cloves of garlic. I threw them in there. I threw a couple handfuls of lemongrass in there, a little bit of lavender in there, a little bit of citronella in there, and a couple oregano leaves in there. Stir it all up. Let it sit there for a while, and screen it out. And I actually dumped it with a clove and everything all the way around the yard. And it was most for me. I didn't use it for ticks and fleas. I used it for squirrels, to keep the squirrels from coming and eating my plants. And that's going to last.
Well, you're just so squirrely. They just feel at home in your house, man.
Oh man.
So okay, let's say for cats and dogs, is this something that you would spray on their coat, or would you put it, on their collar, or what would you recommend for that, Andy?
Well, I wouldn't use the medicinal herbs because they affect animals very different, especially when they're real small little guys. It could be bad for their kidney, their liver, that kind of stuff. It's just not. What was clock scratching? It had ticks.
Yeah.
No,
love you, Serena. I love you. You make me giggle.
I wouldn't give it to the pets because, like I said, you don't really know what kind of reaction these animals would have. Like little babies, very small amount. Oregano is very strong. So is lavender. So is eucalyptus. All these things are very, very strong. If you make a tea out of it, it becomes stronger. What I do is I would go to a pet store and look at their natural soaps that they have for pets. A lot of them have a natural pyrethrum included. Pyrethrum that comes from chrysanthemum flowers. It's pyrethrum, so that, and then they also have some other natural things that they have in there in a tiny amount that you don't hurt your animal, because you require a tiny amount. So if you're going to use your pet, I know for my cat, she will get the sneezes if she comes anywhere near any of these herbs, especially if I put it on her then she has to lick it off. The other thing you can do for pets is called diatomaceous earth. Now they have 3 different grades of diatomaceous earth. They have pool grade, they have garden grade, and they have food grade. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I get it real cheap from the pool company." You don't want that. That's a chemical that's been processed with a chemical, and it gives you a lung disease if you get it in your lung. And it's just for the pool. It's not meant for human contact. The garden grade is not as expensive as the food grade, and that can be used in your garden, of course, because you can sprinkle it on your garden. I haven't gotten to the part about why you have the ticks in the first place, especially if you have them around your property.
If you're using diatomaceous earth, like I actually consume it because that's how I put it in my pills.
Yeah.
But are you just because it's like a fine flour? Are you just rubbing it into the animal before you go for a walk? Like then you have to wash it off. Like
I would use food grade on the animal because remember they lick themselves too, rather than garden grade.
Yeah,
it's just a grade finer and cleaner, right? So the garden grade is a little coarser, and it may have other things in it. Whereas the food grade, that's it, and it's very fine. It's nothing to eat. So you give it to your pets, and you can give them. You dust them with it. And you have to learn that it's since you don't want them to get in their eyes. So you have to. What I do is when I have a cat, I pinch it. I get a little pinch and start at the back right here where they can't get it. Rub it in, and then rub the whole back in, and then rub everything. Just rub it in, right? Rub it in, and you only need a tiny amount because if you have too much dust everywhere, that poor animal could get in their eyes. You can get in your eyes because that's very, very gritty.
Yeah,
You don't want to rub your eyes, so you have to go a tiny amount. Just a tiny back and tiny here. Usually I find that the whole back area and then maybe the tummy, because the rest of the place, the animal can keep himself nice and clean. It's just a place where he can't get at. In my garden, I've used it in my dog coat, and I did it to my puppy's child. Yeah, so if you have a food grade it's also great to feed them for yourself. You can feed it.
It's a really good dewormer. We used it for 15 years.
Right, not just dewormer, but it also silica. It provides a certain source of trace mineral for you. It helps you to get rid of parasites in your stomach. I've been using diets. I've always had available food grade diets to make sure with me, I give it to. So my kitty cat's listening. Okay, she's not listening. I put a little bit of the diatomaceous earth in her food.
Yeah.
It's like not even. When I first started giving it to her, I gave her a teaspoon, and she said, "Nope, you put something."
What we used to do, Andy, is actually we have big containers that we would
Yeah.
pour our dog food in. Then we would actually sprinkle some over the top, and then we would shake the container just so it was coating the kibble.
Yeah,
And then they never had a problem with it
yeah,
at all. It was easy
yeah,
feeding, and we never had problems with worms. Like, we were a breeding kennel, and our
yeah.
vet said we had the cleanest dogs that he'd ever seen, because we never in 15 years had a problem with worms.
That's
It was
actually a
amazing.
really good idea with the dry food.
Yeah.
It's actually a really good idea because you only need a little bit. You just shake it all up, and then they eat it just on a regular basis. I was using it on their wet food, just a tiny little bit, But that's just. But I never thought of me. See, I don't give them that much dry food, even though now recently I've upgraded to a really nice dry food for my cat, 40%
Yeah.
protein, no other additives, no grains, none of that stuff, But I think I will start sprinkling it. She's listening in. I'm not talking about you, dear. So go
Well, and the other thing that we've used it for in our home, and
Yeah,
we've used it a lot over the years, telling people about this, is it's excellent for getting rid of bed bugs,
yeah.
safe for you, your children, pets, in the area you treat in your home. Sprinkle on the carpet, and then let it sit for a bit, and then vacuum. But remember to do the same on your bed mattress and couches, etc., because bed bugs like to hide. But these are some of the natural remedies that can be used
Right,
without any chemicals,
right,
etc.
right. So
But like, I want to get back to the sprays and the liquids, Andy. If
you
you
know,
took like a piece of cloth, that you could tie on to, say, the collar, and soak that in, like the mixture, and then tied it on to the dog's collar. Do you think that would be a good way to add the scent in the area that your
like,
dog's walking?
what would you put in the cloth?
Well, let's say the essential oils, or the garlic, or the
Well,
citronella, etc. So it's
well,
not actually covering the dog. It's just a piece of cloth that's attached on the collar.
okay. So I remember a long time ago they still do it, but I remember buying a collar that has like citronella smell on it, or they had the peppermint smell, right? Those things like that, right? And I remember that what happened was well, first of all, the natural ones are good, but the ones that weren't natural started providing problems for the animals because they would be bringing this stuff in all the time. Liver, kidney, stuff like that will bother them too.
Yeah.
But the natural ones are very, very good if they're done in the right way. And I remember I used to get essential oils, so I would have essential oils of peppermint, eucalyptus, one drop in the little collar, and they could wear it. But even then, that's still too strong for the animal. I realized that poor cat was smelling, starting to get it in their face all the time. It's a strong scent, So I stopped recommending essential oils because you can literally kill your cat with just a drop. So
Okay.
what I would do is stick to the diatomaceous earths, because that works, and without harming the animal. You just have to be persistent in dusting them with it. You can learn how to. That's why you can get garden grade diatomaceous earths, because the animals have to go out and get it. So if you have an environment like a yard and stuff like that, you can protect your yard so the animal can go out without getting them in your yard. But when you go for a walk in the park, or when you go for a walk somewhere, you're going to have to learn how to protect yourself and your pet. That's where the garlic comes in. That's why you want to learn how to get the animal to get used to eat the smell of garlic. You only need a little bit, a
Yeah.
tiny little bit of the garlic for them to eat and get it in their system. The other thing you could do is you can make a tea out of the garlic, and then you can literally wipe the animal down a little bit. But then the tea has to be very mellow, because if it's too strong, all these things you have to be careful because they're like little people, tiny little people. So what
Yeah.
may not be bothering you because you're a big monster, a little animal goes, ah, right? Right? So I would stick to the other thing that I have used before, and I've used it uh, very sparingly. It's called boric acid. You can buy it in a drugstore. It's called boric acid, and boric
Yeah.
acid can be used as a dust. And I wrote a book on how to control bed bugs, and the diatomaceous is definitely the main one to use. A lot of times you may have a big, massive problem, so I would combine boric acid and diatomaceous together, dust the rug, and then vacuum it up. The little pieces of the boric acid and the diatomaceous would stay embedded in the rug, and when the fleas and ticks would lay their eggs in there, it would kill them. But I also learned too that in the garden, again, the principle is the same. So whenever you have any bug disease, any bug or pest that is an infestation, what did I miss? Flamethrower. Oh no!
Rick's giving us a hard time. He says, "Yeah, just use a flamethrower, man."
Yeah, that works. That works. That's what they did in the giant ants were attacking the city. They used a flamethrower. They killed everything. They burned the city down. But yeah, no, the ants came back anyway. So in the garden, the principle is still the same. There's something going on in your garden that's allowing infestation of fleas and ticks to manifest. Okay, because the biology in the garden will control it and keep it just like the biology controls ants, right? Controls the population of ants. Any insect or pet, actually, any disease or pest that starts in the garden gets controlled by the garden.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you see my answer to your question? They have their own little thing going on over there, you know.
Well, Rick basically was asking because we said on the couch. He was asking why would bed bugs be on the couch, and Serena basically answered that if you have a cat that lays on your bed, gets the bed bug from there, moves to the couch, lays on the couch. That's where you can have transfer.
Plus, bed bugs can jump 6 feet, so they don't, they know how to get around. So if they want to be on your couch, it's because they probably sent you there and they look, where are you? Where's that body?
And they like to hide. They hide behind picture frames and all, baseboards, etc. Right.
Right. So when you have a problem in the house, that's because the environment is perfect for them and lots and lots of places they can hide. And you basically have to learn how to use the diatomaceous earth. But you have to be careful because the diatomaceous earth will destroy your rug and will destroy your clothing and stuff like that. Plus, you don't really want to get it in your eye. You don't want to breathe it as a dust. So you have to learn how. You have to learn. There are a couple of different things you can learn to use. One of the things that's really interesting that I've learned is just basically boiling hot water. You can mist everything with it, get it wet, and that hot water will kill it. And then you just vacuum everything up. You learn how to use the soap. So there's all kinds of soaps that have the pyrethrum in there. That's what I started doing when I had a property that everything was kind of always bringing in fleas and ticks. Other people and animals were bringing them in. I would tend to give the rugs a bath, and I would throw in some diatomaceous. I would throw in some pet flea and tick with pyrethrum in it. And then I stopped buying the pet one. I learned you can buy the pyrethrum straight. They sell a 5% or 2% pyrethrum for chrysanthemum flowers. And you can literally make a little tea of it and spray the rug with it underneath the building, certain areas. The diatomaceous earth is good for places where you don't really are, like underneath the house and places, other structures like that. What is this? There, when it acted out in school, it was 7 feet was put in time out. I don't get it. To the herb
plant time. It's a new joke that she just came up with, and time out, like the kids put the kids in a time out. Well, instead of time out, it's time out, which is a plant, right?
Yeah, and so what you have to do is you have to, if you're lucky to have a garden and you want to establish that as a pest-free area, the fleas and ticks like that. One of the things, it's a simple thing, is having animals like birds, for example. If you have a bird house, or you have a bird-friendly environment, so you have more birds running around. The birds will eat everything up in no time whatsoever. So if you don't have any birds flying around your property, you're going to have it. That's one of the things that controls these things, whether it be caterpillars, right? They would just walk around. That's why I remember when I grew up on the farm, we had chickens, and the chickens were everywhere, and they ate everything.
Yeah.
Literally, they would go through fleas and ticks and all kinds of stuff. And there are other creatures too that do that as well. And so then you have to, but ideally, what you have to do, the best thing that you can spray is the compost tea. It's the biology. If you start spraying everywhere on your property outside, you're going to find that eventually you're not going to have any fleas and ticks because you're reestablishing the balance that the soil biology needs. That's the thing that you have to remember is that. So when you go out to the woods and the forest and you get attacked by fleas and ticks, that's a whole different story because that's the balance. The balance is it's all kinds of things going on out there at the same time. That's the way it works in a wild environment. In our city environment where we live, we want to have a little more control over it. We just can't have elephants, all kinds of creatures running loose, all kinds of stuff happening because that doesn't work for us, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then the thing is when you're going out in the wild, that's the time to apply, different things for yourself and your pet, take those precautions. But if you're in your own yard and you've got, knee high or thigh high grass around your property, then that's something you can take care of,
right.
so and then don't walk there, is one of the other things. But, it's the preventative medicine. But like Andy, the birds, like I know we have, a couple of different bird feeders and we don't have any birds' nests, but we have a multitude of birds that are living here that survive through the winter, etc. And we don't have much for mosquitoes for the last couple of 3 years since we really started, attracting that wildlife. And that's that cycle of life, the predator prey. The birds eat the adult bugs, and then you have the worms eating the larvae or the nematodes eating the larvae. So it's all about having the life there that supports the complete ecosystem, because it's that ecosystem that comes into balance and takes these problems away from your yard and away from your garden.
That's the easiest way to do it. So if you learn to make compost and if you learn to constantly have a good source of biology coming in, it's the biology that will control the fleas and ticks, because just like it controls the ants, even the gophers, anything that has to dig through the earth, either had better be able to live with the biology or not. So usually the biology tends to control an over infestation of any one of these creatures. It keeps them from just going nuts and destroying the environment, the balance of the system. See, so the system always has ways to seek balance, and that is more feet in the ground, right?
More roots in the soil, more plants, which brings in more life, etc. We do have Serena had a question.
I didn't see that part. No, I didn't see a two-part question.
I have two new compost bins that do not require turning. They're just a container that has bottoms that you push into the ground, and when I add stuff, worms come up and get spoiled papaya, etc. in it. I also put spoiled bell peppers, dead tops from rhizomes, orange lilies. What do I need to do to make sure it's just earthworms and not unwanted pests in the compost? It has a lid.
So I'm thinking what's happening is that, first of all, your bin is not big enough to get hot enough to go through that process, because you want to have a bin that's 4 by 4 by 4. That's the minimum size bin that you can have that will reach the heat level that you want it to heat up. So if it's not heating up and you're throwing raw food in there, you're going to have all kinds of creatures come around. Oh, look what we have for dinner today. Wow, look at this. Oh, wow, look at that. And so there's no way you can stop that. That's what the problem is your compost bin needs to be bigger. Tell me the size of your compost bin. I bet you it's not 4B by 4.
Well, I'm thinking it's probably the size of a garbage can. And now,
Right.
Okay, Andy, I do have a tumbler composter that does work. And it's maybe 10, 15 gallons.
Yeah, right.
There's no way it's a 4 by 4.
No, that's a different thing.
But yeah, it's I can tumble the stuff in, and
Right.
then I put accelerators in to make
Right.
sure it does come up to
That's a
heat.
different thing. You're controlling the environment more.
Yeah,
You're tumbling. You're aerating it more. You have something in there that's crushing it, turning it all the time. You're adding accelerator. You're adding things to that. That's different than what she had, a bin that sits there, and then the food it attracts. The creatures can smell it a mile
yeah,
away. Oh, pepper or this or that, and they'll come in and dig it. What I suggest you do if you want to do that, blend the food up first. Some liquid, throw your stuff in, and whip it into like a juice, and then pour it. You'll find that the creatures will not be coming around because they're not bringing their straws to get at the juice.
yeah. Well, and the thing is, Andy, and we've talked about it, is in that tube that you're putting into the ground. I can't remember the exact term you're using for it, but if you dig that, basically a big post hole, and you start packing stuff in, as long as it's covered and the critters can't get into it, when it's full, just cover it with dirt. But that's the thing, and that's like your bokashi. That's one of the things they do. They have the wheat that they put on top to block the odor, and it's more about blocking the odor for the critters coming in.
Yeah.
But Serena, you have two of these bins, so if they can't get in underneath the bottom, like a rat can't dig a hole in to get underneath, and you put your lid on it, you're not going to have to worry about critters coming into it to eat it. But once it's full, then you close it. Once the other one's full, then the first one should be decomposed enough where you can just pull the container out and spread the material. That if you are leaving an access point in any way, shape, or form, then the critters are going to be trying to get in there, etc. But if you can
Here,
control the odor, that's 90% of your problem.
here's what I would suggest. I don't know how much room you have, but normally the way it works best for you and works for everybody else is you have more than one bin, more than two bins. You have 3 or 4 bins. And the way it works is just you have 4 bins. You start with the very first bin, you put your stuff in there. By the time it gets full, you dump that into the second bin. You can add things to that, and then you go back to the first bin. If you do that process, you're going to find you're going to speed up the aeration, speed up the decomposition process. And by the time you get to the fourth bin, they're really cooked. What I've done is I would have a shredder. So anything that goes in the first part gets nice and shredded. You're going to add your raw foods in there. You don't add any raw foods in the other ones, just the first one. And you take that, you dump it and blend it into the next one. And if you can, you run that through a shredder, add some other things to it, like biochar. You can add all kinds of things to it to where it would heat up and cook really well. That's what you want to do. You want to have several bins. Only one gets the raw stuff in. The rest of them gets to decompose. And the more you blend it, move it over, the faster it's going to produce. So it depends on how long it takes you to fill up that bin. Right, you fill it up and then you dump it into the next one. In the process, you're turning it over. You add things to it. Lots of cool things you can add to it to really beef it up, make it nutritional wise. You can add anything from seaweed. You can add some biochar. You can add all kinds of other aged wood product. You can chop up leaves, dry the leaves, add that to it. Don't add anything raw to it. You just want to add as much carbon as you can to it, right? And there are other things you can add to it that increase the nitrogen level. So you can get any type of, for example, you can add rabbit manure, which is a pelletized form, or llama. They're on pelletized form. They're very good to help slowly break down. Chicken manure breaks up really, really fast. So you only want to add that in the very first one to complement any foods that you have. So that will break down. You can also learn how to add things to that first bin that will really make it cook up really well, increase the biology. So if I had a worm farm, I would be pouring my liquids in that first bin, get the biology going in there. That would really help it to cook up faster. And all of a sudden, because if it's cooking, the animals are not going to go into the heat, into the where it's cooking to eat it, right? So usually it's sitting on top. So I would learn how to grind things up, blend it, pour that. Don't do pieces. So there's nothing for them to go after. Add some things to it to make it cook up, because you don't say anything about whether it's cooking or whatever, and then you can as you blend it over to the other part. There are things like feather meal you can add. There are a bunch of a blood meal you can add to really beef up the nitrogen. There are lots of bat guanos available. There's all kinds of really cool
alfalfa pellets work
alfalfa pellets by
fantastic.
itself. Yeah, alfalfa
Yeah.
is really, really cool and it's easy to get a hold of organic alfalfa pellets. Right, the pelletized is good. So you want to get creative what you add to it, because by the time it comes out the other end, totally different product. So the only time you have the problem is the first one that was happening is you're not really, it's sitting there too long. You want to take it, dump it, fill it up, and in the filling up process, you can use the diatomaceous earth. So you can, I would use rock dust. Rock dust is a form of diatomaceous earth. It has at least 20 to 30% silica in the rock dust. Okay, so it basically is a type of diatomaceous earth. So you add that to your sprinkle. You only need a little bit. So when you're doing the layers, you do food, sprinkle the diatomaceous. You either do diatomaceous earth, but I would do rock dust, because you want to. This is a good chance to add something that's minerally rich to your thing there. So I would buy a couple of different. What I did was I would buy 12 to 14 different types of rock dust. And there are lots of places you can get it. Remineralize.org. Remineralize.org. It's a really cool place. Shows you worldwide resources, and you have a place where you look up your state or your country. You're in Canada, you can look up who sells rock dust there. And you want to get a blend of rock dust. And there's also, when I started doing this, there's a company called Fertrell, Fertrell. They're out of New York. And they sell basically this ground up powder, which has green sand in it, got rock dust in it, crushed seashells, all kinds of really cool things in there. You can add that to it with biochar, biosawdust as well. That's what you're at to the very first. If you was to do that, so biologically active that the animals will not come and eat it, and then you move it along to the next one. So that's what you're doing. You need to pay more attention to it, really kick it up a notch a little bit in terms of what you're doing to it, and add a couple more bins so you have more oxygen, right? The more oxygen it gets, the more aerated it gets, the more.
And Rick, no pool, nothing for the pool. That's too industrial. It's going to cause problems.
Yeah, you'll get this lung disease.
Yeah, farm grade or human grade diatomaceous earth. But yeah, that's like acids. You can use a little bit of acid and it doesn't have any problem. You use a lot of car acid, battery acid, and you're going to burn yourself. So yeah, pool grade is an industrial chemical.
And a lot of people do that. A lot of people buy pool grade because it's really, really cheap. They chemically treat it. It's toxic. It'll kill all your soil biology, kill the worms, it'll kill anything that comes in contact with it. You don't want to use that. You're lucky if you're not getting it in your eyes, because you get it in your eyes, you won't be able to fix it from it. If you're going to use it at all, use the food grade. But the food grade is because you're feeding it to yourself, you're feeding it to your animals. That's a higher quality. The garden grade is fine to be using in the garden. It's fine to use you can use it in your compost process. But again, what I would do instead of diatomaceous earth, use rock dust, because rock dust is basically a form of diatomaceous earth. In other words, there's diatomaceous earth in the rock dust already. Okay.
Okay. Now, where do I get basalt?
So nowadays, all you have to do is ask your favorite browser, where can I get basalt locally? If you use Google, go use the AI mode, say, hi, where can I get basalt in my area? And that's it. And Google will be happy to tell you. And she'll say, hi, you've been listening to Andy again, because I love her. You can talk to her. They have an AI mode. The browser has an AI mode, very different than the search engine. Because the AI mode, you're talking directly to the AI of Google's. And then you say, hi there. You don't have to say where I live. Or you can say, I live in area code, or where I live. Just make sure, where do I get the basalt? I get my basalt from a place called Local, Local. It's in the United States. And that's where I get about 12 different types of rock dust. Basalt is one of them. glacial rock
Most
dust.
of your garden centers, and even I've seen it in Walmart, basalt rock dust. But,
Yeah,
there's so many different varieties. You got soft rock phosphate, you got
you want that.
basalt,
Yeah,
there's all kinds of different types
rock dust.
of rock dust.
Right.
You can go to, somebody that cuts granite, and you're going to get granite rock
Yeah,
dust from the
exactly
powder that
right.
comes out of the saw.
When I started doing this, I was on one of the things I remember because it was really cool. So I was coming one of the first when I first came to California from Florida. I came on Highway 10. It goes all over across the country, right? So as I
Okay.
was entering into California, I saw this big sign on the one side of the highway, another one. It says organic strawberries. So I okay, cool, organic strawberries. I pulled in there. And I was talking to the guy, and I said, "So what are you doing to fertilize it?" He said, "Wait a minute, I'm going to fertilize it right now." And this big giant dust thing came across from across the street and blew across, and I said, "I just finished fertilizing." And he says, "What do you mean?" He said, "That's a quarry over there. That's a rock quarry.
Yeah, yeah.
They're mining. They were mining, and they were throwing away the fines because they mainly mined for the road construction and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah, the gravel. Yeah.
they had all this mine, and I made a deal with them. I'm just going to bring a truckload. You're going to load up or bag it up, and because that was a form of rock dust there. There's so many different kinds of rock dust. And when I was in Florida, I would get it from I love the New Jersey, New York source because that Four Trails, a blend of all these things. Somebody decided to blend everything together so you get in one product, right? And there's also here in California, the Northern California, there's a couple of areas that sell. It's called Peaceful Valley Farm and Garden Supply. They have all kinds of really good stuff. They have another company called Down to Earth. Now, Down to Earth is very unique because they not only sell the rock, the 50-pound bags of it, but you pay by the pallet full rather than the weight. When I go to a store nowadays, I've been in California since '84, so I went to a garden center and I said, "You don't carry any rock dust? What is wrong with you people? Oh my God, I'm gonna lie here until you do. I'm not gonna eat any food. I'm gonna starve to death." And so I finally got them to start getting rock dust, and they would get the 50-pound bags.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
company sells the stuff everywhere, but they sell them in 5-pound boxes. You get a 5-pound box, right?
Can't even get that down to earth in Canada. It's a hell of a problem. We have Gaia Green products that have I think 3 or 4 different rock dusts for in Canada, but
I guess
they're at Walmart now.
I guess it's because it's not entirely easily regulated. Rock dust can have toxins in it. It depends what the company is you're getting it from. They could have cadmium, mercury, lead, all kinds of stuff in there. Quite often, like I said, a rock company will throw stuff away and they'll say, "This is good rock dust, I'm going to sell it." But realistically, it could be toxic. So I've learned to only buy rock dust from reputable rock dust companies. So you don't want to be driving along
in Texas. He actually tests for paramagnetic properties. So
that's right. That's right.
That's something else that's very important. People don't understand just how much the energy around us, promotes the use and the growth of the cells that grow your plant. It's all interconnected, guys.
And you hit upon who was that said that?
Rick.
Rick Easy. So Rick, thank you, brother, because see that the real reason why, and I talk about this all the time, is why is it that we are why are we using rock dust? What is one of the things about rock dust besides the minerals? And if you have been following any of my podcasts, the minerals is really basically paramagnetic. The minerals. Yeah. And so when something's paramagnetic and the universe is sending out these cosmic beams, a cosmic rays that shoot through the earth and etc., guess what absorbs it? When the beam goes through that paramagnetic properties, it absorbs the cosmic energy that comes from that beam. See, and there's many, many articles and scientific studies about this as to what. So different parts of the world have different paramagnetic rock dust, literally. And these things are absolutely wonderful for us to use and also to reestablish the paramagnetism that normally you would be found in the soil, that normally the trees would have a certain magnetic field. And when the minerals disappear, so does the ability to have this magnetic field. In other words, to absorb the cosmic rays, like right now, what's going on in our solar system, right? Coming right straight through the earth. And either you absorb it and use it, or you don't. It goes straight through. So the paramagnetic stones and gems absorb this stuff, and we normally absorb it ourselves. We are normally paramagnetic. In other words, we normally are eating minerals, right? We're full of minerals besides water. Guess what else we have, right?
Yeah.
And the
Well,
mineral,
and the thing is, Andy, you have to really get in line with the Schumann resonance and that energy frequency. Like we talk about the cell phones being bad for us because it's a concentrated frequency that interferes with us, where the Schumann resonance is a natural frequency. That's why you see a lot of people putting in copper figurines, etc., in their gardens to draw the good energy and focus the good energy into their area. People use silver sheets, silver threaded sheets in their beds because it's a good draw for the positive energy, and it's very cleansing. The silver is very cleansing, but a lot of people are starting to understand more and more that they want to attract the good frequencies and get rid of the bad frequencies. And that's what we're talking about. It's that paramagnetic frequency coming off the sun that your plant is using is energy to grow new cells in its structure, so you have a much larger, healthier, more vibrant plant. So there's so many different ways that we can help to draw that proper good energy in. And the copper figurines are just one of them, but having the minerals there to interact as well is something that's very important for the health and the nutrition in a plant that you're consuming as well.
so when we're talking about biology, we're always talking about whether, as for this is applies for me, but basically when we're always talking here, the underlying current that we're talking about is energy, is that frequencies. That's the underlying current of everything we do. So in order for the biology to be happy, functioning, and living, we have to have the right currencies and the right frequencies, right? So so all these things, whether it be ticks, fleas, spiders, ants, whatever, all related to whether we're in balance with our frequency of energy or not. And when we're not, that's when we have these problems. And these problems are there basically for a reason. Everything's happening for a reason. Pests and diseases, they have their job to do. So that basically means you don't sound right, you don't look right, we're going to take care of that for you. That's what it comes down to. So when we talk about how to really deal with the problems, we basically have to say, okay, we really have to look at the biology. And to me, you have to look at, I look at the earth. I go, okay, let's look at the biology. Let's start with the earth. And so if the earth isn't vibrating at the frequencies it's supposed to, we're going to have problems. And that's what's going on right now on the heavens and the stars. It's sort of tuning it back into that frequency. But we have abused it so much that the tuning fork is having a hard time going ding, right? The tuning fork, so we have to deal with the tuning fork. We have to say, why is the tuning fork not ringing? What is going on here? And that's what we have to talk about. And so when we talk about biology always says, I want my minerals and I want the energy.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. We're in deep doo-doo. And that basically means, the thing has hit the fan and we're in trouble. We have to learn how to deal. That's why death can come in so many different ways. Pain and dying and all this kind of stuff can come in so many different ways. And so we're here as long as we're happy and healthy, right? And then and that basically means you can't be happy and healthy if you're not in tune with what's going on in your environment, if you're not part of the vibration that's going on in your environment. That's what it comes down to. So whenever you have a bug or disease or anything like that, automatically something is wrong here. And it's usually we have to deal with ourselves, right? We have to deal with ourselves in terms of how we're vibrating. And then we also have to look at the environment. What is causing the environment to do this? And that's the bottom. That's the long term. That's a long term thing. When I talk to people about how to heal their property, there's a long term and a short term. You always have to deal with the long term, and it's called a long term for a reason. Tomorrow morning, it's not going to solve your problem, or next year, it's not going to solve your problem. The biology takes a long time to get to where it was. Therefore, if it's out of whack, you may have to need some time to start bringing it back in if you have the time. But nowadays, it doesn't look like we really have a lot of time to take our time to heal things up on the planet. That's what it comes down to for me.
Yeah. And it's all interconnected. Like, it doesn't matter, what we're doing. If we're killing the biology, we're helping to kill our planet. So we want to promote life in our planet, because that's what is growing those plants that you eat, that your animals eat. And it's also, it's like the sun above my head here, right? It's that circle of life that has been here since the beginning of time, that has grown over millions of years. Mother Nature, she can fix this. And it might take her, 100 years. It might take her 10 years. It might take her 1 billion years. But she can fix our planet. We're the ones that are interfering with her fixing it. So we just have to learn to not be a moron, not going, oh, well, I put a little bit of calcium on. That was good for my plants. Well, here, I'll put 10 buckets on. That'll be even better.
It comes down to how you think, right? It comes down to how you think.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, you're dealing with people in Malibu, Andy, that, they might be multi-millionaires and billionaires, but they're not that intelligent when it comes to how the system works. They know how to, how their business runs, or, how a movie gets made. But when it comes to soil and the life in the soil, they're going, oh man, it's just dirt. I walk on it all day long. I'm not worried about that.
Just here. It's not just here. It's pretty much everywhere. Out in the country, out in the country is a little different, I would hope, because there are farmers who say, okay, I'm going to take care of my farm, But even then, you have farmers, I'm just going to make money, So it's a slightly different environment. So that's what it's all about. I mean, we could be saying it's all about the money, but it's because that's a different
their world, Andy.
That's a whole different. That's a whole different thing. So when you talk about it's all about the biology, we have to pay attention to everything that happens, from weeds to pests, and the terminology has to change, because weeds, pests means they're bad. That's a whole different thing that we have to change our attitude about what pests and diseases are. They're not bad. They're just an indicator of what we're doing in our system. The same thing with the weed.
We have to change the understanding of CO2, 1 carbon and 2 oxygen. They actually get breathed into the plant. The plant breaks the oxygen off that CO2 molecule, puts it out as oxygen that we breathe. But they take that carbon and they actually build new cells with it. They build the new plant with it. And people need to start realizing that carbon, the CO2, isn't the thing that's harming us, the way they're trying to say that it is. We need that CO2 to survive on this planet, Andy.
Yeah, and so the question is, has anyone had asked the fires for advice in treating their property? Yeah, the girl thinks again, yes. And so that is the number one thing that I'm having a hard time getting across to people, because they seem to think that you can heal your soil, rid it of toxins in just a few months, in a month, 30 days. It's something we can do now, and next week, next month, 2 or 3 months from now is done. No. Because unless you're Superman, where you can take the soil away and bring it, take the trees out, bring some new soil, put everything back in, you're going to have to increase the biology, and the biology is going to start dying on you immediately because it's toxic. I did a soil test for a lady. It's toxic, 7.4. You don't have the biology in 7.4 that you want. You want 6.8. That's an indicator right there that the biology is gone. So you have to be increasing the biology. You have to get the best You have to get the best biology that you can, right? The best biology that you can together.
Yeah.
And that's where the worm farm comes in, where you make compost. You have to constantly be adding biology, constantly. Control the city water, stop the toxin from coming in. You'll find that the biology will clean up the toxins. So you have to bring in the best compost you can make. You make the best compost tea that you can make. If something wants to grow, let it grow. Why are we pulling up that plant? That plant wants to grow in the middle of that toxic yard. Let it grow, because that plant will suck up the toxins. Weeds suck up toxins. All kinds of plants you put in the ground that suck up toxins. The biology will convert it. So you have to give them a home, give them a place to work from. And the time is up, man.
Yeah. Well, guys, that's it for today's show. Tomorrow, the ladies on Chiropractic is Sexy. We're talking about the overstimulated child. And then on Friday, I have the people from biocharcoalition.org coming on, having a conversation with me. Monday, we have Tony, Mr. Toad, coming on to talk with Leighton on Monday. And then, I had it in my brain just a second ago. Andy and I are what we were talking about next week. But as we said, we're still going through Andy's book. So, you guys are gonna want to see this. And Andy, did you see Serena's question? She was talking about when to plant.
It's too cold. Unless you have a greenhouse to grow inside, it's too cold. You have to let the earth warm up a little bit. From what I understand, there's still lots of very cold places out there in your area.
Yeah. And follow what's on the seed package. They generally tell you, so many days before frost, after frost, etc., on what you want or when you want to have your planting done. But
okay, everybody have some compost tea.
Okay, guys, have a wonderful day, and we'll check you guys out tomorrow during the day on Chiropractic is Sexy.